Well, it's a few days later, and I'm still back here in the backyard at Motha's house. Yes, hey, I went and got some more of those couplers for the main drip irrigation line, and the lines here at my mother's house are 5/8. These pipes that go all over the place are 5/8, and sometimes they're 3/4 and sometimes they're 1/2 inch. So don't kid yourself before you go to the store to get repairs. Make sure you know what size you need. And you see, if you're going to be doing repairs on your drip irrigation, you might as well get some 1/4 inch tubing. This stuff is I think you can buy it in different lengths. This is 100 feet, and it didn't really cost that much. I've got some couplings. I know I've got to use 2 more of these couplings today. If you saw my other previous video, you will have seen how I showed you how to install those couplings. Okay, and yes, you always have to get an array, an assortment of different things. I've got couplings in there, I've got T's in there, I've got plugs in there, I've got 1/2 inch 1/2 gallon per hour bubblers, 1 gallon per hour bubblers, and 2 gallon per hour bubblers. Like a big old huge bush like this, you might want to put a 2 gallon bubbler, but when this plant was when this bush was small, you could have got by with 1 gallon bubbler, and they might have a 1 gallon on there. They might have a 1 gallon on this. I just put a 1 gallon bubbler on here, and it had something else going on with it too. But you're just going to have to make up your mind. See this big birch tree here. That probably has a 2 gallon bubbler on it, or if you don't have 2 gallon bubblers, you could put a 1 gallon and a 1 gallon over here. I would put it on the uphill side so that it's coming down this way. I wouldn't put it down on the downhill side. Okay, and little by little, hey, trust me, when you start looking at your drip irrigation, you will find all kinds of things that you don't know what they did from before and why there's certain things going to no man's land, and why other things need to be fixed. Every time I come to Mother's house, I find something that needs to be done on her bubblers. That is, if I want to look hard enough. And see, I saw a place right here. Here's that main line that goes around over here, and this one I could hear it when I fixed a main water line over there. I turned it back on, and I could hear something over here, and I thought, oh shoot, what is it? And I dug around and found, sure enough, this pipe has a hole in it, so that's why I've got some more of those couplers. And this time I thought, hey, nothing doing, I'm gonna get some extra ones, because I have a feeling I'm gonna use 2 of these today, and then if I have 1 left, I'll save it. I'll save it for some other time. Those couplings aren't that much. In fact, these were cheap. These $1.18, I think it was, and this was a 5/8. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. There you go, 5/8 compression coupler. That's what that thing is. And you just push it on there. See how it's got a rib on the inside of it? And you just, as you install it, you don't try to twist it on. It's kind of hard to do that. Once you get it going, you just kind of work it back and forth like that. And I show you that on another video. So you can always see it on my other drip irrigation videos. And I don't know how much I am going to show you today, but we'll see. We'll see. This is just something to let you know, hey, if you want to save some money, you want to work out in your yard, you want all your plants to be all nice and all that, go the extra mile and start saving some money and buy yourself some different repairs for your drip irrigation, even if you've never done it before. If you've never done it before, go to my main YouTube channel page, click on playlists, and scroll down to drip irrigation or landscape issues or landscape repairs or something like that. And all the videos that I've ever done about drip irrigation on different places, I will have in that area, and you can learn right there, and you can know, hey, if I can do it, an average Joe, you can do it. You know, this is not rocket science we're talking about here. It's just drip irrigation water, okay? And if you got your sprinklers off, you can fix just about anything having to do with drip irrigation. Trust me on that. You just get your hands dirty a little bit and you learn a little bit as you go. It's really not that hard. Don't pay somebody else for something you can do yourself. Even if your gardener says, oh yeah, well, I'll fix it. Yeah, right. He's gonna fix it all right, and he's gonna charge you for it. If he says it's included, then guess what? Every time you have an issue, you've got to tell him about it. You've got to make sure it gets fixed right. You've got to make sure he covers the pipes right. You've got to make sure that it's all done properly. And sometimes gardeners will tell you, oh yeah, that's included. I do minimal things. Well, when they find a leak on your main drip irrigation line underneath a tree, next to a tree, down by a rock, there's always going to be some reason why he's got to charge you extra. You know what I mean? And then stuff gets undone and you don't get everything taken care of when you want it to be taken care of. Just go out there and start doing it yourself. If you don't have a gardener or if your gardener doesn't include this in his monthly gardening for you, then guess what? Each one of these repairs is going to cost you a lot of money that you could have saved by doing it yourself. Just fixing this one thing is, they'd probably charge you $50 or $75 or even $100 depending on what it is. You may not even know what it is, and it might only take them 15-20 minutes, but yet they told you it was going to cost $125. You didn't know how to do it, so you said, well, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, go ahead and do it. And then guess what? Next month there's going to be another $120 repair, and another one, and another one, and another one. Had you have fixed it yourself and figured it out on the first time, you could have saved all kinds of money. And that's what my YouTube channel is all about, on DIY. Go to my main YouTube channel page, click on playlists, and scroll down and see all of the different DIY topics I have on my channel. And anything that I post, I tell viewers, if I don't think you can't do it, or if I don't think you can do it, I'm not going to show it. Which means pretty much everything on my YouTube channel, if I've got a video of it, then I think you can do it too. Okay? Remember that. Hey, well, whenever I find something that I think you might be interested in seeing, I'm going to show it. Now, I knew that this pipe right here was leaking and it was shooting out from underneath, and I thought there might be a hole in it, just, you know, a pierced hole or something like that. And I was gonna take my little landscape tool, poke a hole in it, and then put a coupling on there, put a plug on there and that. But see, it was actually this pipe here. See how this thing looks like it snapped straight off? That's because there's a small little coupling in there, and that went in underneath this pipe right in there, and it snapped off. When it snapped off, it blows water straight down through there. That's why. And so the other portion of the coupling is up inside this pipe. It's still stuck inside the pipe, and yeah, I can feel where it is. It's right there, and I know a portion of that, of the end of this, is in that pipe. So that's why I have to cut this out, put the coupling on the main pipe. But I thought, you know, I'm going to be a little investigator. Sometimes you have to do that. I thought, okay, where does this go? Do I need to actually hook it back up, or can I put the coupling on there? Or do I put the coupling on there and do I have to hook this back up by poking a hole and getting a coupling and doing all that kind of stuff. Well, first off, I see that this is 3/16 or 1/8 inch tubing, and nowadays they use 1/4 inch tubing. This one is a little bit bigger. The 1/4 inch tubing is easier to work with, and this stuff is older than the hills. And I thought, okay, do I need to hook this back up or not? So I dug it out all the way along here, and it goes up to no man's land. And there's nothing there, but where I saw this, there was this stuff here. So I knew there was an old plant here, and this is how they did it years ago. They didn't have the bubblers that they have nowadays. They just have a little bubbler, kind of like that, see? And that even broke off. And see, they've got a little stake here. I'm gonna save the stake, but they used to do that in the old days, and then they would put this around there, click it down there, and then they would wrap this little string around there, and then snap this back on, and then your drip bubbler was up off the ground. That's how they did that. Okay, but I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna save this. This little pipe's gonna go bye-bye. Okay, I'm gonna pull this out of here. This is that 1/8 inch tubing or 3/8 tubing. I'm not gonna use that stuff anymore. Okay, so I'm gonna throw that away. I'm gonna save the little stake. And the funny thing was, here was another piece just laying here. And see, that one has been cut off. You can tell there's nothing on the end of it, right? And so years ago, they probably cut it off and they didn't use it. See, this end is perfectly good, but it's designed for this 1/8 inch or 3/16 tubing, and I don't like using that stuff anymore. But I may save the end of that in case I come across something else down the road that just needs that little end on there. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so before I dug this, now see, I still have to dig a trough right in there a little bit so that I can lift this. Well, actually, see, this is up above the ground. This stuff is supposed to be, 3 or 4 inches underneath the ground. I don't like it when they run it. Sometimes they run it kind of across and then they just throw the bark over it. The problem with that is, years later down the road, when the bark guys and the landscapers are done, you start seeing the pipe after a while, because your gardeners, they blow, when they're edging, when they're trimming the bushes, they blow, and then it blows the bark. Now see all this bark? I moved the bark back, and the bark is probably 3.5, 4 inches deep right in here, and that's because when they blow everything this way, and then it all kind of piles up over in this side of the yard. Look at this. I mean, my brother and I, we put bark down probably 1.5 years ago, 2 years maybe, and it looks as though this bark has been gone for years. That's because the guys with the blowers, they blow it, and then a little bit accumulates, a little bit, and then they rake stuff up, the leaves and stuff, and some of it gets in their bags and stuff. And so what you have to do sometimes is get your rake and rake up where the pile of stuff is over here, and then rake it back in here the best you can to give yourself a thin layer. It's like, where does this stuff go? We've done it, my brother and I have done it maybe over the past 10 years, at least 3 times. Big huge pile of bark out in the front, and get wheelbarrows and put it in here, and son of a gun, it just seems like it disappears. So that's something else I'll probably end up having to do here when I get done with all this other stuff. But before you start digging and stuff, what I like to do is move the bark away, before I do the repairs. Then after I do the repairs, I check the repairs, then I can push all the bark back, so it looks like I was never there. It cracks me up. I went to a friend's house, and they had a cherry tree they wanted installed and planted in their backyard, and they had their landscaper guy do it, and they had bark just like this kind of stuff, okay? And the guy dug a hole, and he just threw the dirt right on top of the bark, the landscape bark. And then after he got it planted, he threw everything back, and you see the nicely planted tree, and you see all this dirt on top of the bark all over the place. I would have scraped all the bark around, all the way around the tree, where the tree was going to go, and then push everything back up, get a sprinkler head in there, a bubbler in there, whatever you got to do, and then push all the bark back. That's the good thing about doing it yourself or something like that, is to make sure that when you get done with the project, it looks like you were never there. That's how I like to see it when I do stuff, and I hope you would agree with that. Okay, I guess I better get my tools out and see what I can do about getting this pipe here repaired. I wasn't really going to show you that. I think I might, because you might not have seen me fix this other leak over here a few videos ago. Okay, so if you haven't watched that, and if you choose to want to see how I went about doing that, you can always find that on one of my other videos, okay, under landscape repairs or drip irrigation or something like that. But I'm gonna go ahead and make the repair right there. It's really not going to take me that long either, so you might want to watch this next video segment.